Alrighty, folks, we are in for a treat at the end of the year. We are welcoming back Leah, the trader. She's been on the channel before talking about what she does day in and day out. How you doing, Leah?
Hi there. Nice to be
Hi.
here again. I'm doing really well.
Awesome, awesome. I love what you are doing on X. Let's remind people of our first couple of episodes together. What do you do day in and day out? Why don't we start there?
I am an investor and a trader, and I am day trading every day. And I invest into real estates and stocks and VC funds and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, one of the things I love about following you on X is or Twitter is you're out there every day, you're putting up there the wins, the losses. You are a trader, right? Versus an investor, like buy and hold forever. We talked about that in the first episode. Then we talked about your experience with whether it was psychology or really understanding what makes people tick and really what makes most people bad traders, right? I really
Yeah.
remember those
hmm
conversations. So let's
Yes.
remind people of your background, sort of pre-trading.
So I worked as a marriage counselor and mediator for couples for 10 years. I studied psychology, biology, and all the science. I wanted to be a doctor. And then I realized how much it costs. And I had no family here. So I changed the path a little bit and went to study mediation and arbitration, basically. So I moved to science to couples therapy. So I was helping people with intractable couples conflicts and around sexuality mainly. That was my focus. And in COVID, I became a trader. So it's been now in 2 months, will be exactly 4 years I've been trading daily.
Wow, that's amazing. And then the other thing I remember celebrating and just being in awe about is um, you live life, right? You go out, you have fun, you experience, you share your travels, and you're not just stuck in a room, with five monitors, day in day out forever. You are living life. You talk about having a couple $1,000 days and moving on, and hey, it's done. I made my trades. I'm out. I'm living life. That's something I remember as well.
Yes, I like to have balance because you never know when it's over. And I live every day like it's my last day. And, you just adjust with the age. When you're in your
Yeah.
20s and 30s and 40s, you do something else, but it's enjoyment. So I think it's very important to have this kind of work-life balance.
Yeah. And then just catching everybody up at the very end of our second conversation, you dropped a little nugget, which is where we're going to dig in this conversation, that you are actually a real estate investor. You built up, as I recall, a portfolio in Europe. You now have stuff domestically in the United States. So let's talk about Leah, the real estate investor. When did that start? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so when I was my gosh, 21. Yeah, I think 21 was 2004, 5. Yeah. 21, 22. I started buying real estate and I wanted to actually buy an apartment first and live there and buy a next door apartment that I can rent. And I kind of wanted to do the math that I live for free. That was my
Right.
goal. But then when I was looking, I actually looked and I found buildings that would cost about what some apartments cost. Maybe you would have to be in a different location a little bit in the city, a different part of town, but you would get like 4, 5, 6 times the square
Right.
footage. So I looked into it and I was 21, 22, started looking and I'm like, wow, this is like a dream. Like I was not even imagining that I could own buildings. And
Right.
what I realized, of course, that they were really old and there was a lot of work to be done. But I love working.
Mm.
Doesn't bother me. I had the time. I was young. I was very very driven, and yeah. So I started buying buildings because I figured, if you are renovating in bulk, it's easier than just one apartment after another. Sure, it's fine too, but you have to deal with the people in the building. So once the building is mine, I'm the people. So I was doing that, and I kept 2 buildings for myself, which had a total of 14 apartments, and I then bought a couple of warehouses that I got a permission to turn into lofts, like huge apartments. And
Wow.
in some parts of some cities in Germany that were economically challenged because of change of an industry, you could buy these warehouses that were basically for nothing. for
Right.
super cheap. And you can see this in the US as well. When you look at some parts of Brooklyn in New York or Chicago, like a lot of these parts of town were very industrial. And now they're building these amazing, like really cool lofts and apartments, San Francisco as well. So it's kind of this industrial look. So that's what I was doing. And I was just selling them after. But the
Wow.
14 I had for passive income. So by the age of 24, I was pretty much set.
So I want to go back. So again, these first acquisitions were in Germany. Is that right?
Yes.
You're 21 years old. Your initial vision was to buy an apartment and get the one next door so you can live for free.
Yeah.
You start looking at buildings
Yeah.
and you do the math and it's like, that's a better deal. But, 21, I mean, where's the money come from? Was lending? Did you get did you get fix up repairs or help us kind of envision from doing the math to closing the deal?
So this was the thinking. So basically, I went to see an apartment I wanted to buy, and
Okay.
there was a guy painting the outside of the house.
Sure.
And I asked him, where is the owner or the realtor? I want to see the apartment. He said, I own the building. And I'm like, wow, you own the building and you're doing the
This
work.
whole
He's like,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, because I'm very handy. So I bought the whole thing and I'm renovating it slowly and I'm selling now the
Ah,
apartments one by one. I
okay.
said, really? I said, and I looked at him, and in my mind, only super wealthy could own a building. But this guy was painting. I said, wow, something in my idea is not working here. So I
Mm,
said, well, he's like, look around. These things are really cheap.
mm.
And that's what he gave me the idea. So I started looking around, and then basically I was working like a regular shitty job, whatever, making 1,500 euros a month, but it's enough to buy a certain price apartment, right?
Okay.
And what I did back then, I made a deal with the bank. And instead of putting 20% down, I would tell that I bring a whole team of workers from Eastern Europe. They would renovate the building and I will finance the materials and the labor.
Okay.
And that basically was considered as a down payment. And you can do
Sure.
that in the US as well. So that was like the deal, because for the bank, I have this building and I put all this work into this building. The labor is the most expensive thing, because
Sure.
like a German handyman back then wanted 30 euros an hour, and you need
Mm,
10 of them and you need 6 months of work. So just do the math for the
mm.
bank. It was like, wow, she's going to double the price of the building in 6 months. So they had not as much risk. If you think about it, it's almost like I would put 50% down when you're buying a new
Yep.
building.
I got
So
you.
that was the thinking, that was the negotiation, that was the deal, and it went through. I had to go to 2 free banks. I wasn't giving up.
Nice.
And then I had this one, and once I renovated it, I had so much overhead of the capital, because of course it
Yeah.
was building that suddenly was double the price, but I only had mortgage on like half of it.
Yeah.
So I could use that to finance the other building the
Ah,
same
yeah, you
way.
were
They
using equity.
basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
And I
And
was in
I want to
really
be
in
clear. This is something my wife Olivia and I did in 2010, right? A lot of people don't realize, at least in California, my market, probably most of the country, single families crashed first, but multifamilies crashed after. It was like successive waves because you could hold longer, the losses were bigger, banks were extending and pretending. But we bought 20 units directly from a bank president, just like you. They took the whole purchase.
yeah,
I, in this case, took 50K, put it in an escrow account as the repairs.
yeah,
Same idea.
yeah.
And,
And you can
so
do it, and people are go, oh, did you have rich parents? I'm like, no, my parents have no money.
yeah, my
Like,
parents have no money. I made 1,500 bucks an hour, a euro, sorry,
yeah,
euros. And, you just had a mission, you had a belief, and you wouldn't give up. That's what I
I
get from
wouldn't
you,
give
is
up.
you don't give
Yeah,
up.
no, I don't. And that's the problem with most people. They see there is like a problem on the way. They have this idea or fantasy or business. The moment one obstacle arises, they're done.
Yeah. They sit
Oh,
down and
and
cry.
then,
Yeah.
well, or they generalize and judge the situation, say, oh, she must have rich parents, or she
Yeah.
must have done this. She must have, there's always something that they kind of explain to them why they can't do it and why they're not successful.
Right.
But that's just the wrong thinking, instead of spending the energy on trying to figure shit out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Figuring it out, not taking no is just an answer, just a permission to ask a different question. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. And again, I want to highlight you're 21 years old doing
Yeah,
this.
I was very
You
young.
know,
Yeah,
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 that's awesome.
yeah.
So, how long did it take that first one? Was it a 6-month kind of project or how long
I
was it?
bought the house in March 2005, and I sold it. I was done with the renovations in October.
All right, so 6,
So
7
March to
months.
October, 6, 7 months. Yeah, and I think a rental went from November. And I actually didn't want to deal with 8 apartments and families, so I went to organizations and I rented the whole
Hmm.
house to an organization. So you can do that too. You can go to all
Yeah,
sorts of nonprofit organizations, charities, like Red Cross, like
yep.
whatever you have in your town, and you
Mhm.
can rent it even to the city. Like a lot of times the city will rent it for immigrants, for you
Yep,
name it, whatever the
yep,
causes they will have, and the city is responsible for the rent. So maybe you will take a little bit less of the market price, but
sure.
honestly, I
The
owned the house
headache.
for 16 years. I did not have to do one time issue.
Wow.
Besides one time, like a dead pigeon fall into the chimney and blocked the chimney, and the
Yeah,
chimney
yeah.
stopped working. Funny.
Stuff happens, yeah, yeah.
But imagine I would have 8 apartments. I
Ah,
would, oh,
yeah, yeah.
and you have one apartment empty 1 month or maybe 2 months, you have to do repairs, headache. So I rather take a little bit less on the market
Yeah,
price, but I have my peace. And
and
also
you
what I
still own
suggest
the building
people,
today?
I don't, I got rid of
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right, we'll talk
I
about that
have,
too.
yeah. But I also tell people, when you do deal like this, you can negotiate. For example, you say, I give you, I don't know the pricing, like every state is different, but I give you like $5 less on the square foot. I'm just making shit up, but I
Yeah,
did that.
yeah.
I give you less on each square meter in Europe, but you're gonna repair up to XYZ price every year without
Ah,
calling me. So that's perfect, because if little stuff happens, like they have little damage or something, up to
yeah,
$1,000 or $5,000 a year, you repair for the whole building. If it's
I
more,
like it.
you call me. Yeah, it's very good technique too.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about how you built it, and then we'll get to the liquidation. This should be a good story. So you have this
Yeah,
first building, 8 units. You find a nonprofit that rents the whole thing. You
yeah,
have equity. You use that equity to buy the next thing. Um,
yeah.
that's kind of where we're at in the story.
Yes, that's where we're at. And then I just renovated that one a little bit and I rented it. That one wasn't that old, but because I had the money from the first one, I could secure the second one. I didn't have to go for absolutely dingy building,
Yeah,
right?
makes
Because the
sense.
first one was really dingy, but then at that point you have something in your hands, and that way you can keep growing.
All right. So
Yeah.
where do you get kind of so at this point you're holding everything? Like you're buy and hold at this point?
Yeah, I bought hold, and then as I said, I was focusing more on the renovations and
Right.
creating cash flow. But
Hmm.
then, it was just awful. The tax was like 50% on
Oh, wow.
this. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just was really annoyed because I worked really hard and I couldn't manage to make more than 60,000 a year.
Wow. Yeah.
And plus my passive income, but still, like that's after 3.5 years of this work,
Mhm.
just left to the US
All right,
because
so
I
you're
figured
25.
20,
You're
yeah,
20.
24, 25. Yeah, that's when I went.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you come to the US. So did you
yeah.
sell everything right then?
No, I hold it. It's my passive income every month.
That's nice.
Cushion.
Okay.
It's called
Yeah.
cushion.
Yeah, right. Cushion. Yeah, exactly. All right. So you had what, 14 units, I guess, at when you
14
left?
units and a garage. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
garage. Okay, great. So all right, so you come to the United States. So what happens to the properties? Like where does you just buy you're just holding, you're collecting rent, cushion?
Just holding, collecting rent. And what I did with the money, most of the money I had from the rent actually went to half of the money, I think, something like that. I had it structured, went to an investment account
Okay.
on an Autopay, and the other part I was living on. I wasn't living on because in the US everything is really expensive. In Europe I could
Yeah.
have lived on, but it was nice to get every month $2,000.
Yeah.
It's not much, but like it pays your food and a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. So that was kind of in a crisis in 2000. I came to the US winter 7. I
Oh,
mean,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. And I came here, I was here just for a vacation, and I moved here full time in 2008.
Okay. All right. I really like that idea that you've set up the auto pay,
Yeah,
like quote unquote, pay yourself first, right?
yeah,
Take 50%, put it here. And then the other
Yeah.
50%, you ball out, do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, whatever
It's
you
your
want
fun
to.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So,
that.
and I have to say, yeah, as I said, like I came here for 7 and I went back to Germany. I did some more work. I came back 2008. It took me a while to full-time move here, but honestly, 2008, 9, to have this $2,000 a month as a cushion was really, really helpful.
Meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's meaningful. Very, very
It
cool.
was good. Yeah. You could, in the worst case, you could literally live on that money in the
Yeah,
US as
you
well.
could make it happen.
And I for fact did, because at some point when I applied for my green card, it took like 9 months to get the paperwork done. And I couldn't work. So I would just rent a room. I was very frugal my whole life. I didn't care. I rent a room for $600 a month in New York City. And I would just cook and eat, take the subway, and you could totally survive on $2,000 a month. It wasn't a luxurious life, but
no, but you could survive.
You know, yeah, you can without being broke. Yeah, on the street.
That's pretty amazing. So where does the real estate journey go? It sounds like at some point you decide to liquidate and sell. When does that decision come up?
You know, when you see real estate index being high since 1949, it's kind of a sign. And also my biggest renter, who I worked with for 16 years, left, and I would have to renovate the whole house.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they kind of tried to screw me over because we had a contract. They have to bring the house to the original state.
Ooh.
But it was a big organization and they tried to threaten me with attorneys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you did take that lying down.
No, so I said, you know what? It's a sign from the universe that this should be gone.
Okay.
And I sold it. Everything. So yeah, but now I invested in Miami. And again, like we were laughing about the interest rates. Do you think I was focusing on interest rates when I was buying these houses? No.
No. Yeah.
You know, like you
So
can
what year
always
did you sell? What year was that? Sorry.
22.
Ooh, all right. That's a pretty good year to sell.
Yeah. So I had the contracts going in late 21. The price, everything was negotiated, and finally got the money 22. But the real estate's fall like 15-20% since then. So I literally sold the top.
Yeah, you nailed the top. You timed the market.
Yeah.
I'm guessing in the years of ownership, it seems like it must have been 15 years or so.
Yeah.
Are we talking 100%, 200%, 300%? 400%.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't suck. That's not bad. That's not
Plus
bad.
I had passive income.
Yeah, you were paid as well each month. Two grand. That is
and I never
awesome.
put €1 or dollar
Back
down.
in. Yeah.
Never. Everything was self-paid, self-made, everything around self. It was amazing.
You make it sound so easy. Were there any challenges ever?
You know what? There were challenges because I was very young. So there was like, the banks are like,
yeah.
But I think I'm very good with persuasion, and I'm I can negotiate really well. That helped me my whole life. And I just don't give up. As I said, I go one, I go other, I go third, I go forward. I don't stop until I get what I want. And then, of course, the renovation was super stressful. I lost like 10 pounds.
You lost 10 pounds? You're tiny.
Yeah,
That's not good.
Now I'm 110. I was probably 100 pounds. I would do so much work myself because I wanted to save money. Nice. I would go and buy like an old truck, and I drove with a shift stick.
Oh yeah.
And I would drive 6 a.m., wake up straight to Home Depot.
Wow.
With all the handyman buying shit, going back to construction, telling the guys what to do.
That's awesome.
Dealing with all of that. And I was painting myself. So I painted half of the house, white paint, everything. Climb on the how we call it in the US. You have it outside of the house. Sorry, sometimes my words.
Like ladders or roofs.
No. Just like the scaffolding.
Oh, scaffolding. Okay, yeah. Scaffolding.
I have pictures and scaffolding.
That'd be funny.
Painter out there was painting all the windows. So wherever I could save money. So I worked myself. I labored for 7 months nonstop. I called my own uncles. I called my brother. I called my dad. Everyone came from Eastern Europe to help. And that's how we do it. That's our culture. You know, in my country, when I was a kid, my grandparents built a mountain house. They called all the men in the village and the son and his wife and her brothers and 10 men from the family would work, and they didn't get paid. They did it
Mm,
for the family. And then the other one bought a house and they built the
yeah,
house for him. And one,
yeah,
there were a lot of handymen back then. One was doing this, one that, and all they
yeah.
got was a lunch that my grandma cooked and some slivovitz.
Ah,
Short,
yeah,
so my culture is like that. So when I call my family, I need help, they will be there immediately help. That's like where
yeah.
I'm from. So that was kind of really helpful too, I have to say. And I
That's
think that
right.
the Spanish culture is like that also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
Well,
similar.
I don't know that I've asked. Where are you from? What country where's home?
Slovakia.
Slovakia. Very
Yes.
cool.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's
So
nice,
that's
nice.
kind of I can't disregard that because that was really
Oh,
helpful.
I'm sure it was.
And
I'm sure it
sure,
was.
there were fights. Sure, the city came and said, "Oh, the scaffolding is, I got a penalty there once or twice because it wasn't properly fixed, and I
It
had to
wasn't
pay like
secure. Yeah.
secure." And I didn't have a work permit to work on the scaffolding, but I still did. And then I paid the penalty. I said, "Okay, I will go there anyways again. If they penalize me once, they're not going to come again." So yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Like there were things, it's
Yeah.
normal, but you
Yeah.
just find ways around it, I guess.
Yeah. So I am so encouraged by this story because I hear a lot of 20 somethings, 30 somethings, shoot, 40 somethings, looking at today's environment and just feeling like they can't do it. Right. It's too hard. It's impossible. I mean, you see it all the time on Twitter. Twitter's
Yeah.
full of doomers. I mean, Wh just what do we do in today's society, or how do you help people that are just so focused on the doom that they can't get out of their own way?
I tell you what the problem is, what I think, and I've seen this in all sorts of industries. People want to do things that are sexy and nice and perfect and looking good. Even in business, like, would you say sell toilet seats if you can make millions of dollars, or would you do something really unsexy? I know the wealthiest people, they do really unsexy businesses,
Yeah,
or
good point.
selling like clothing for nurses. Like, it's not sexy business, but it makes millions. The same with the real estate. Not
Mm,
everything is beautiful and pink, and I agree, it's not possible in big cities. I looked in Miami now for 3 years.
mhm,
I could not find, and I looked with so many realtors. I looked myself, I went. It's just impossible because the prices are so high that
mhm,
even if you would do it and you buy, like, I cannot buy shitty house that's so bad that I would not walk into it in a neighborhood that I need to walk with 3 guns on me for $500,000. It's ridiculous. And then
mhm.
even if I would renovate the house, then what's the upside? There is none. If people want to do this, they need to do what I did. I was in Dusseldorf, which is one of the most expensive cities in Germany. I ventured out to city next door that was broke by economy because it was based on coal industry. And as we know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Germany
Yep,
stopped all the coal industry because it's bad for the environment.
yep,
So all these factories were closed. People lost jobs and the houses, nobody wanted to live there. So
mm,
you had hundreds and thousands of those houses you could buy and renovate and create something, right? So the same
mm.
here. Like, there are a lot of people on Twitter that go outside. Like, they're
Yeah,
great guys. They go to little cities, little villages, and they just, it's not Miami, it's not Manhattan, it's not Brooklyn, it's
yeah,
not LA, but you make money. So you have to
yeah,
pick and choose. There are
yeah.
sometimes in life we have to compromise.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because that's exactly my story, right? Olivia and I tried to do it in the Bay Area, which is stupid expensive, no
Oh,
cash flow,
impossible. Yeah,
impossible. We got in
impossible.
our car and drove 2.5 hours south. Well, you know what? There's some cash flow now. And
Exactly.
yeah, we made that work for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
And the real estates are growing anyways. And if you
Yeah.
find, even like, better to find neighborhoods that are totally horrible. Like, I invested in a field, like cornfield or whatever,
Mm.
potato field in Slovakia, and I paid like 30,000 euros for that. And I waited because I knew all over around there is a huge construction of apartments and buildings.
Yeah.
And at some point they wanted my field because it got approval to be built to
Sure.
commercial zone and living zone.
Yep.
So I sold it for like 600% more. And like, these are things you can do also. Like, these things,
Yeah.
Miami is growing as well. There are neighborhoods that are horrible, but it's a little bit risky,
Yeah.
But I think if you really do your research and you look, like in some parts of Bronx, for example, in New York, a lot of people buying there, the prices will go up much more, because if they're already high, they're going to just slowly grind or stop. But the prices in this neighborhood are going to start going up really fast. So I think it's a great idea for many people.
So
But again,
I am,
people would have to want to do it. It's
they
it's
got
a
to
lot
do the
of
work.
work. I drove 50,000 miles a
Do the
year
work. Yeah.
in Germany to find these
Wow.
houses.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I would be remiss if I didn't kind of tie our two conversations together. You are obviously very active in the stock market, which is a way to build wealth and income. You obviously have a track record in real estate. Do you like one more than the other? You know, like where's your passion? Or is one income one's wealth? I mean, what are we talking about?
At this point, I think it's the stock market, because I've done my 16 years with real estate. Again, like I did amazing investment in Miami that is like insane. And I think I'm happy in that department of real estate when it comes to like diversification of my net worth.
Sure.
But I focus on the stock market because I think that's something I'm passionate about now, and I want to do this for next decade or two, and then probably
Yeah.
don't do anything. And it's fun for me, honestly. Even the real estate, it was a lot of work, and it was way
Yep.
more stressful for me. But again, stock market is very risky. I think real estates are much less riskier. Stock market is very risky, but once you find out how to do it and you can control your emotions, I think you can multiply your wealth tremendously.
Very,
So
very
it
cool.
all depends on the personality. They're both excellent sources.
Yeah. Well, Leah, you're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I love how you live out loud and you just put it out there. If somebody wanted to follow you and see what you're doing in the market, where do we send them?
Just Leah the Trader. I'm on
Simple.
Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I try to do weekly videos and all sorts of fun stuff. So just
Nice.
that's simple.
Leah the Trader. Go check her out.
Yes.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
Thank you so much.